Let us all do we can to build a better future. What's going on with our stimmy checks? Are we getting them? I mean, they're not going to evaporate into thin air. We would never lose our stimulus checks.
Of course not. So before I start, I want everyone in chat, I asked this earlier, I'm going to ask it again. Type 1 if you've got your stimulus check money, and type 2 if you haven't. So we're going to talk about where some of that number 2 money might be going, even if the answer is really number 1. So here's how your stimulus money might not get to you because reasons. Ready? The first batch of $1,400 stimulus payments have started to arrive in the bank accounts of millions of Americans. The payments were included as part of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan passed by Democratic House and Senate last week and signed into law by President Biden. No Republican voted for the legislation, yet, as we did in a thing, they still complained about not getting the money they wanted. Oh, can't choose both.
And by the way, heads up too, you're getting a whole lot of 2s in the live stream.
Yeah.
2 1s, but 2 is basically the majority right now.
What are we surprised?
So no one's getting their stimulus.
So, which means that Democrats had to resort to a budgetary maneuver known as reconciliation to pass it, but we covered that. You know how that went. While this rulemaking process allows Democrats to pass the stimulus package with a simple majority vote, it also constrains their agenda of not doing all that much. Specifically, reconciliation prevented Congress from including a provision to protect stimulus checks from being seized by private debt collectors. Wonderful. The result could be disastrous for millions of Americans and disproportionately for Americans of color who are relying on payments as a financial lifeline. I would argue that most Americans, even though it is proportionate, are sort of in this same boat. Anyway, $1,400 stimulus checks can be seized by private debt collectors. $1,400 stimulus checks will buoy millions of Americans who are struggling with financial consequences of the coronavirus pandemic. A family of 4 could receive $5,600 over the next few days to pay rent or the debt of their rent, buy groceries and other essentials, and maybe even save for a rainy day. But we know that's not true because we know that Congress and everyone on TV hates it when poor people save money. So, however, part or all of that $5,600. I love how they've just like miraculously in this article gone, yes, it's $1,400, but it could be $5,600 if you have 2 kids and you're married. Anyway. It could disappear from the family's bank account just as quickly as it arrived. That's because the American Rescue Plan did not and could not include a provision to prevent private debt collectors from garnishing stimulus checks. We've already seen disastrous effects of this policy when the first round of checks went out in 2020. I actually realized they had a typo in this. Wonderful. While the March CARES Act ensured that stimulus checks were not subject to federal or state debt, it did not address private debt, which could include credit card debt, medical debt, education debt, which means student loans. It could also mean rent, which, again, we talked about 10% of the country is $6,000 in debt. So even if they got that magical 2 kids, $5,600, that's gone. Still in debt, gone though. Anyone with a judgment against them for credit card debt, medical debt, or any other kind of private debt can lose their stimulus money to a debt collector. So there you have it. The people who have the least money and the least assets to deal with the problem and are in debt are the people that are the most eligible for not receiving a check because, I don't know, what do we say? It's the, what's her name? What's that fake person's name? The proprietor, the secretary.
Oh, wait. You mean the Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDougall.
Yeah. So it's because of this sort of shenanigans that if you are out of money and you can't buy food, you're not getting money for food because someone else is collecting your debt because they didn't install something to say that you can't have private people collect debt, which is no different from Trump did.
Okay.
Congratulations. This is another failure.
So first, I want to read the YouTube super chat. Not YouTube live stream chat from Loomis2459. $4 gallon gas in the largest tax hike since Bush 1991. Biden at work, and also shout out to Jack Klugman, who says Biden was the credit card senator and bankruptcy bill king. And we can't forget that he was the architect of this. So who's angry? Who's upset? All this hype about the stimulus check, the $1,400, which is apparently, according to the vote blue no matter who mindset, that's just your additional money for the $600. So there you go. You got your $2,000 out the door, even though for the fact that the Biden administration, Biden himself, they campaigned in Georgia during that runoff election, and they said $2,000 on the billboards, on everything else. They said $2,000. Those two Senate candidates who are now in the United States Senate said $2,000. $2,000 was promised to us for the stimulus check, but yet we didn't get it. This whole idea of $1,400 plus $600 equals $2,000, when in fact, here's what's going on. They said $2,000. That's what they said. That's what the Democrats promised, but it's a one-time thing. Yet other countries have figured out how to do continuous stimulus checks or UBI for their people. I mean, at this point in time, our politicians, both Democratic and Republican lawmakers, don't give a crap about us. And here's the thing, the reason why the Democrats were really speaking out, especially during the Georgia election, about $2,000, because Donald Trump did a press conference when his relief bill was passed, was the $600. The reason why we got that $600 is because the Biden administration found a way to worm themselves in so that $1,200 that we were going to get would be cut in half to $600. And then what did Trump do? He called out the Democrats and said, nope, $600 isn't enough. It should be $2,000. And boy, oh boy, let's take a step back. Remember the backflipping that the Democrats did for that $2,000, screaming it from the rooftops, but then out of nowhere, it's going to be $1,400. They scammed us. They lied to us. They told us that's going to be $1,400. They did that vote blue no matter who mathematics, saying the $600 was a down payment. Say that to somebody who's being kicked out of their home right now or their apartment. Say it to somebody who has never even got a stimulus check. There are Americans, a good portion. We just did a little voting here in our live stream. Majority of people have not gotten their stimulus check. And again, I'm going to ask Daniel's question again for everyone who's just gone into our live stream. Type 1 if you got your stimulus check. Type 2 if you haven't. Because God damn it, this isn't fair. You got Americans struggling day in, day out right now. And the United States is just showing the world that it can treat its people like crap. That it can turn a blind eye to people being evicted. That it cannot do a continuous stimulus check. That it cannot do rent forgiveness. And the American people just took it. This isn't right. Other countries are taking care of their citizens. And I'm not saying that those countries are perfect, but damn it, it's night and day here. We don't have Medicare for all. We don't have student debt forgiveness. We don't have medical debt forgiveness. We are entering into a crisis very soon that's going to really make 2020 look like a walk in the park. Yeah, and the thing is, the Democrats, especially as we pay attention, especially to everyone right now watching, pay very close attention to how the Democrats are going to act and the false promises that they're going to give you during the 2022 midterm election cycle. And also be aware of how they're going to act in 2024 when somebody worse than Trump or Donald Trump himself chooses to run for office. They're going to say, oh no, we're going to do this for you and we're going to do that for you. Have they delivered on any of their promises? They have not. And let us not forget that it was Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who likes to eat her fancy ice cream out of her $25,000 refrigerator. Don't forget that, and again, this is questionable whether Trump would have done this or not. He wanted to do another additional $1,200 stimulus check. He wanted to do a continuous one. But remember, Nancy Pelosi held a press conference meeting and she said, we're not going to do one. I'm not going to do it because I want to hurt Trump. Hey, here's another polling question I want to ask our audience. When Democratic Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who then got reelected by the progressive congressmen and women that are now in office, all right, when she chose to not do the continuous stimulus checks, type 1 if you think it hurt Trump. Type 2 if you think those stimulus checks, those continuous stimulus checks, would have really helped out working class citizens. Because the thing is, we got hurt, and the Democrats didn't deliver.
Yeah, this is the issue that we have with America right now, is that we're falling into this very typical end late stage empire mentality of action where everyone just is so convinced that they've won in power that they don't try and maintain that. We're using infrastructure that's 50, 60 years old. AT&T bought DirecTV to use their satellites because it was cheaper and they felt better than actually fixing all their copper infrastructure everywhere. This is the issue of late empires. They rest on their laurels and they think they have everything figured out and nothing can touch them. Nothing can hit them. Nothing can damage them. It's the same mistake that gets made in empires throughout history. British Empire, the way they fell, but really especially, and I think most closely connected, the Roman Empire, where by the end of everything just became about the wealthy having fun and partying and not really taking the world seriously, not trying to actually develop the country, because they had won in their minds and they had always won in America, and Rome had always been an empire, and then today it's America has always been an empire, even though we've only really been an empire since the end of World War II because we were one of the only countries standing that hadn't had its infrastructure absolutely destroyed. And that allowed us to basically colonize much of the rest of the world. If you want to see what that looked like, just look at the borders between the ideologies of the Cold War. And just, that's our colonies. That's what we did. That's how we did it. That's how we did what we did. That's all changing. It's all changing in real time. China is regaining its old position as a superpower. The European Union is moving away from us, and that's not because it just was inevitable, though it was likely. It's because America stopped trying. We stopped innovating to the degree we let everything get privatized. We stopped having the government. We used to spend 5% of our money on infrastructure. We don't do that anymore. And so our stuff sucks. We don't have public transit everywhere, and now we're dealing with all these major problems, whether it's our infrastructure falling apart, like what we just saw in Texas, or before that with Flint, where everything that we're doing is coming home to roost. And other countries that are willing to build more are. Europe is coming together in a union that is moving into a direction of being sort of a one country. And just another thing to throw out there is, if you take the GDP of all the European countries, you take the GDP and population of America, it's about the same. Similar population, similar GDP. We're not really that exceptional anymore. But the elites don't know that because they're still binging off all the wealth and power of the previous generations.
Yeah. We need to have something far better. But this one-time stimulus check, it's not going to help alleviate poverty. It's not going to, remember the Washington Post did an article about how, now people are going to be showered with wealth. People are going to be showered with money. Oh my goodness. How great, how stupendous, how awesome. No, people are going to be back in poverty again. Yeah. Nothing has fundamentally changed. We are being screwed over. We're getting hurt and we need to create something far better, but, all right, we need to do more. And sadly, I think the same result from the previous two stimulus checks. There's going to be a lot of Americans who are going to get it, but it's going to evaporate.
Yeah, and so we're now in a spot in America where big business. They got a $5 trillion tax cut. They're fine, but we're still complaining on TV that small people get something. Yeah, and it's that'll hit our inflation. Oh, do they have to work for it? Oh, bootstraps.
No, but here's the thing. And here's the thing, because normally we like to do pizza bets on this show, but no, seriously, let's just back your mind. Nothing at stake here. But when do you think our elected officials, be they Democrat or Republican, are going to bring up another stimulus check? When do you think?
I don't think it'll happen this year. I think they're going to be focusing on infrastructure bill, tax reform, maybe something else. But we're just going to hear we're working on something else that's no longer a priority. I don't think we're going to hear about it this year.
We're not going to hear about another stimulus check. Hey, audience. Hey, batters up. Hey, give your best guess. When do you think we're going to hear about another stimulus check after this one hits? If it does hit for you. When do you think we'll hear it be brought up again?